Thank you for honoring our invitation to this press conference, which we have called to address the recent issues surrounding the price of fuel and electricity tariffs. As you are aware, the long-drawn fuel subsidy regime ended in March 2020, when the Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency announced that it had begun fuel price modulation in accordance with prevailing market dynamics and would respond appropriately to any further oil market development. Recall that the price of fuel then dropped from 145 to 125 naira per litre, and then to between 121 naira 50 kobo and 123 naira 50 kobo per litre in May. With the low price of crude oil, then, the cost of petrol, which is a derivative of crude oil, fell, and the lower pump price was passed on to the consumers to enjoy. With the price of crude inching up, the price of petrol locally is also bound to increase. Hence the latest price of 162 naira per litre. If perchance the price of crude drops again, the price of petrol will also drop, and the many benefits will also be passed on to the consumers. The angry reactions that have greeted the latest prices of premium motor spirit PMS are therefore unnecessary and totally mischievous. Gentlemen, the truth of the matter is that subsidizing fuel is no longer feasible, especially under the prevailing economic conditions in the country. The government simply can no longer afford fuel subsidy, as revenues and foreign exchange earnings are falling by almost 60% due to the downturn in the fortunes of the oil sector. Yet the government has had to sustain expenditures, especially on salaries and capital projects, even though we've acted to mitigate the effect of the economic slowdown by adopting an economic sustainability plan. We have also had to take some difficult decisions to stop unsustainable practices that were weighing the economy down. One of such difficult decisions, which we took at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic in March, when oil prices collapsed at the height of the global lockdown, was the regulation of the prices of PMS. As I said earlier, the benefit of the lower prices at that time was passed on to consumers. Everyone welcomed the lower fuel price then. Again, the effect of deregulation is that PMS prices will change with changes in global oil prices. This means, quite regrettably, that as oil prices recover, there will be some increases in PMS prices. This is what has happened now. Government can no longer afford to subsidize petrol prices because of its mainly negative consequences. These include a return to the costly subsidy regime. With 60% less revenues today, we cannot afford the cost. The second danger is the potential return of fuel queues, which has thankfully become a thing of the past under this administration. The days in which Nigerians queue for hours and days just to buy petrol, often at very high prices, are gone for good. Of course, there's also no provision for fuel subsidy in the revised 2020 budget because we just cannot afford it. Gentlemen, the cost of fuel subsidy is too high and unsustainable. From 2006 to 2019, fuel subsidy gulped 10.413 trillion naira. That is an average of 743 billion naira per annum. According to the figures provided by the NNPC, the breakdown of the 14-year subsidy are as follows. In 2006, it was 257 billion. 2007, it was 272 billion. In 2008, it was 631 billion. In 2009, it was 469 billion. 2010, 667 billion. 2011, 2.10 trillion. 2012, 1.35 trillion. 2013, 1.316 trillion. In 2014, it was 1.217 trillion. In 2015, it was 654 billion. I don't have figures for 2016. 2017, it was 144.3 billion. In 2018, it was 730 billion naira. And in 2019, it was 595 billion naira. The federal government is not unmindful of the pains associated with higher fuel prices at this time. That is why we will continue to seek ways to cushion the pains, especially for the most vulnerable Nigerians. The government is providing cheaper and more efficient fuel in form of auto gas. Also, government through the PPRA will ensure that marketers do not exploit citizens through arbitrary high in pump prices. And that is why the PPRA announced the range of prices that must not be exceeded by marketers. In spite of the recent increase in the price of fuel to 162 naira per litre, petrol prices in Nigeria remain the lowest in the West Central African sub-regions. Below is a comparative analysis of petrol prices in the sub-region. In Nigeria, it's 162 naira today. In Ghana, it's 332. In Benin Republic, it is 359. In Togo, 300. In Niger, 346. In Chad, 366. In Cameroon, 449 per litre. In Burkina Faso, 443 per litre. In Mali, 476 per litre. In Liberia, 257. In Sierra Leone, 281. In Guinea, 363. In Senegal, 549 naira per litre. Outside sub-region, petrol sells for 211 naira per litre in Egypt and 168 naira per litre in Saudi Arabia. You can now see that even with the removal of subsidy, fuel price in Nigeria remains the cheapest in Africa. Electricity tariff. Another issue we want to address, it remains one of the cheapest in Africa. Electricity tariff. Another issue we want to address here today is the recent service-based electricity tariff adjustment by distribution companies, popularly known as DISCOs. The truth of the matter is that due to the problems with the largely privatized electricity industry, the government has been supporting the industry. To keep the industry going, the government has so far spent almost 1.7 trillion naira, especially by way of supplementing tariff shortfalls. The government does not have the resources to continue along this path. To borrow just to subsidize generation and distribution, which are both privatized, will be grossly irresponsible. But in order to protect the large majority of Nigerians who cannot afford to pay cost-reflective tariffs from increases, the industry regulator, NERC, has approved that tariff adjustments are to be made, but only on the basis of guaranteed improvement in service. Under this new arrangement, only customers with guaranteed minimum of 12 hours of electricity per day can have their tariff adjusted. those who get less than 12 hours supply will experience no increase. This is the largest group of customers. Government has also noted the complaints about arbitrarily estimated billing. Accordingly, a mass metering program is being undertaken to provide meters for over 5 million Nigerians, largely driven by preferred procurement from local manufacturers and creating thousands of jobs in the process. NARC will also strictly enforce the capping regulation to ensure that unmetered customers are not charged beyond the metered customers in the neighborhood. In other words, there will be no more estimated bills. The government is also taking steps to connect those Nigerians who are not even connected to electricity at all. As you are aware, under the Economic Sustainability Plan, the government is providing solar power to 5 million Nigerian households in the next 12 months. This alone will produce 250,000 jobs and impact up to 25 million beneficiaries through the installation, thus ensuring that more Nigerians would have access to power by a reliable and sustainable solar system. Gentlemen, please note that despite the recent service-based tariff review, the cost of electricity in Nigeria is still cheaper or compares favorably with that of many countries in Africa. I will give you just a few examples. Cost in Naira per kilowatt per hour in some African countries. Nigeria is 49.75 Naira, Senegal is 71, Guinea is 41, Sierra Leone is 106, Liberia is 206, Niger is 59, Mali is 88, Burkina Faso is 55 Naira, and Togo is 79 Naira. Gentlemen, the timing of these two necessary adjustments in the petroleum and power sector has raised some concerns among Nigerians. This is a mere coincidence. First, the deregulation of PMS price was announced on the 18th of March 2020, and the price modulation that took place at the beginning of this month was just part of the ongoing monthly adjustment to global crude oil prices. Also, the review of service-based electricity tariffs was scheduled to start at the beginning of July 2020, but was put on hold so that further studies and proper arrangements can be made. Like Mr. President said today at the opening of the ministerial retreat, this government is not insensitive to the current economic difficulties our people are going through and the very tough economic situation we face as a nation. We certainly will not inflict hardship on our people, but we are convinced that if we stay focused on our plans, brighter and more prosperous days will come soon. The opportunistic opposition and their allies are playing dirty politics with the issue of petroleum pricing and electricity tariff. Please note that these naysayers did not complain when the price adjustment led to lower petrol prices on at least 2 occasions since March. Nigerians must therefore renounce those who have latched on to the issue of petrol pricing and electricity tariff review to throw the country into chaos. I thank you all for your very kind attention.